the Democrats were out this past weekend with their No Kings protest, going against Donald Trump and rallying against the war with Iran, which are two good things. I'm not pro-Trump at this point. I'm also not in support of the war with Iran. But where has the anti-war left been for the last 18 years, really ever since Obama came into office? And I get it. I know that there are some people on the left that have been consistently anti-war and were speaking out against it the entire time. But that's not most of you. Most of you were silent during the Obama years, when Obama did a huge troop surge into Afghanistan, when he started up his secret drone war in Pakistan, when he started up the war in Libya and took out Gaddafi, and we were supporting the Libyan Islamic fighting group there, turned Libya into a failed state, turned around, started trafficking weapons out of Libya into Syria, where we were supporting Al-Qaeda in Syria, started, supporting al-Nusra, which is who runs Syria now, which is the reason why I think we're actually going into war with Iran, but that's for another video. But so he was doing that. We started giving support for the Houthis in Yemen to fight against the Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, then turned around and fought against the Houthis with the Saudis. Then he had to turn around, fight against the caliphate that was established in western Iraq, because when we started giving support for al-Qaeda against the Assad regime, we destabilized Iraq and eastern Syria, and then they established the caliphate. So then you started having another war in Iraq. And, where was anybody talking out against Obama then on the left? He was continuing to bomb Somalia. Like, we were involved everywhere, but the left was silent. And then look at the Biden administration. We got a proxy war that's still going on against Russia. The support that we were given to the Ukraine, which, unless you just don't pay attention at all, a lot of the ones that are fighting in Ukraine are Ukrainian nationalist neo-Nazis. They actually came from supporters of Stepan Bandera, which, if you go back in the history of it, they were actual Nazis that were killing Jews during World War II because they were teaming up with Hitler to fight against Stalin. Again, that gets into the Ukrainian nationalist movement. If you want to learn about that, you should read the Provoked book by Scott Horton. Really good book. But so the left was silent against the proxy war there. They actually supported it. I live in Louisville. There's liberals everywhere. They had Ukraine flags in the yard. It's just absolutely ridiculous. They were silent when it came to standing by and supporting Israel just flatten Gaza during the Biden administration. Where was the anti-war left then? They were silent. And then Kamala Harris, when she was doing an interview with 60 Minutes prior to the election, they were asking her who the biggest threat was. Iran. And I believe whether or not Trump or Harris had won in 2024, we're going into Iran. We're still in this war with Iran right now, regardless of who won. And that's the problem. It's one party at the top. It's a pro-war party. We're ran by the military-industrial complex. I mean, look at who Biden's Secretary of Defense was. It was Lloyd Austin. The guy sat on the board of Raytheon. You know what I mean? So it's like, give me a break. The Democrats are not anti-war. They're going to sell it to you as though they are. Just like Donald Trump. Everybody, think about who's all been elected. It's all been in opposition to wars. Obama was elected by saying he was going to end our, intervention in the Middle East. Everybody was tired of everything that Bush had started. Then Trump was coming out talking about how we were wasting lives and wasting money in the Middle East. That's how he got elected in 2016. And the same thing in 2024. He said, I'm going to end everything that's going on in between Israel and Gaza. He was going to come in and be this great peacemaker. He was going to end what was going on with Russia and Ukraine. Both of these things are still going on. They've escalated. Like I said, the reason we're in Iran now is because the Assad regime finally fell, and it was time in the plan to go into Iran. Once they had broken up the Shiite crescent, and that's why Israel's fighting in Lebanon. See, now that they've cut off that Shiite crescent, we're attacking Iran. Israel's going into Lebanon fighting Hezbollah there. See, we've cut off a lot of the support for Hezbollah now, so now we're going into Iran. Israel's fighting their people in Lebanon and Syria. But hey, you know what? I'm happy to have the anti-war left back. Okay, it's not like I'm like, oh, I don't want that support. We need to stop these wars. So look, I'm happy that the left is back out against these wars, but let's have some consistency, okay? So, because I know that there's probably going to be some radical socialist commie that's going to come in 2028 because the Trump administration has just completely destroyed his coalition at this point. He's completely gone back on all the things that he was supposed to be doing, and things are going to be real bad. We're going to end up with AOC or some other ridiculous Democrat. But when that Democrat gets in, I want you to hold them accountable as well to be anti-war and against all these foreign interventions. Because, see, it would have just been sold to you differently. If Harris had won, they would just be going strictly on the humanitarian aspect, which the Trump administration has pushed a little bit of that. When you saw them talking about the protesters, Iran's killing all these protesters, and they were using that as part of the justification. That just would have been more of the sales pitch if Harris was in. I think it would have just been more like that instead of the security aspect of the nukes in Israel. And don't get me wrong, they would have probably done a combination of both, just like they're doing now. But whether or not you had Harris or Trump, we were going to have this war with Iran. So just I want you to make sure that you call out your Democratic friends, so let them know you all don't have the moral high ground when it comes to, foreign intervention, because you all have been completely silent for the last 18 years. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and comment.